Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Nice to see you again. I hope you're doing well. We're in the fish room. I'm doing some jobs today and I'm mulling over some plans for 2025 and what I want to be my next big project. And I'm going to share them with you, so stick around for that. But also ask some questions. The main one being, how stupid am I? So, if you don't know, my fish room at the moment consists of these racks. So we've got these racking systems where we have the Big Dug racks. I think they're Big Dug Max 1 racks or something like that, but they're essentially 6 foot wide, 2 foot deep and 2 meters high, mixing up my imperial and metric there, which allows me to have these tanks set up quite nicely. Same over here, different size tanks, but the same deal. So we've got storage up top, storage down below. This one is mostly plants and there's a few tanks here going on. And if you've been in my live streams, come along Friday nights, 9 PM UK time, you might know that I've been toying with the idea of changing this. So getting rid of all these and doing something else. Because on the other side of the fish room, if I spin you round, we have this, which is Megatank. Those of you who have been before know this is my DIY aquarium. So it's 8 foot long, 4 foot wide and 3 foot tall. It's kind of my monster fish tank, and I've made videos in the past talking about stocking that and what I want to keep in there in future. At the moment we've just got one very angry giant gourami and a bunch of silver dollars and severums. We need to find a new home for the gourami because he isn't tolerating other fish in there, but ultimately I want to have Oscars in here. I've got these fish behind me, which is the giant emperor snakehead and the Kilberry bass. They're going to go in there, maybe stingrays one day. And I talked about having Megatank on this kind of 10-year journey of all these fish that I'm growing on, putting them in there, enjoying them, loving it, and then switching over to discus and having this as a mega discus tank. But what I'm now thinking instead is, rather than wait for the 10 years, is I get rid of these two and make one big long discus tank. It goes all the way up there, so as you can see I've got my discus tank there just now. We've got 6 foot rack, gap with some filtration and stuff, another 6 foot rack. What I'm planning on doing is I take the angry gourami who goes into what is now the discus tank, get rid of all these tanks and replace them with one big tank. But Graham, I hear you say, I don't hear you say that, but anyway, I have other fish that I don't want to get rid of, like my Fahaka puffer who lives down in this tank. So he's in this 4 foot tank and I want to keep that there forever. And one of the things that I didn't like about Megatank is this kind of wasted space. So I've come up with a plan which may or may not be really stupid and idiotic, but I've come up with a plan which will allow me to have a stand at the bottom with enough space. I use these wham bam storage boxes, enough space to get these underneath and have that all the way across, so 12 feet worth of storage at the bottom, which will lower that bottom level a little bit. A gap for tanks, and then up top, so at this level, which would take it up a little bit higher, so the top of the tank would actually be here where these are at the moment, and have this kind of from here to here as one big discus tank. So a 12 foot discus tank. Let me show you what I mean. So I've modelled this very basically in some CAD software, and you can have a look at this now. So what I've got is 3 sections. So the bottom section being the stand, which you can see down here. I'm using my tried and tested method for building a stand. I've just coloured all the bits of wood differently because I've kept a log of sizes, so I can count how many bits I need of which size and cut them all very quickly and easily. But this hole here is basically big enough so that we can get these wham bam boxes into it. And what I've tried to do is line up these vertical lines to take the force. So 12 by 2 by 2 works out at something like 1,359 litres, so we're going to be kind of hitting 1.5 tons, which sounds a lot, and is a lot, but 12 by 2 by 2 is exactly half the amount of water as Megatank. So I'm using the same principles that we've already tried and tested on Megatank. So the vertical loads should be fine. Should be fine being the operative words here. So I'm expecting all the engineers to be in the chat now going, that's terrible, it's never going to last, it's not going to hold the weight. It's a static weight-ish. All the forces are going to be downwards. There's no... the only bits to be worried about, I suppose, would be these spans here. So there's going to be a 4-foot span there with no support. I have moved in the back supports a little bit to give a bit more support there. But I think that'll be fine, because that is something I've tried before on Megatank, and it has worked with twice the weight, so it should work with half the weight. And if nothing else, me flooding the garage spectacularly and dying on camera when it explodes, that might go down well with the views. But no, so that's the plan, is to have the big tank up top. So we have up 12-foot long community discus tank. So it will be discus and lots of other fish that will live happily with discus. It will be planted, it will be aquascaped, it will be all those good things. A really good opportunity for me to try my hardest to come up with some good designs. And just something that's going to be unique. I don't think there are any 12-foot long discus tanks out there, and the amount of times I get videos, comments, people saying, why are we not having more discus videos? This will enable me to make more and more discus videos. So that in itself will be how it will all look. This middle section will just be empty. I'll just have put in there for reference that puffer tank I could keep in there, another 3-foot tank which I'm probably going to have the shellies in, and then a 4-foot sump which will be the filtration for the big tank up top. And that's what it will look like. I can break them down into a little bit more detail. So I can show you the construction of the base. As you can see, it's just basically going to be wrapped. I'm going to use CLS lumber for this. C16 or C24, 24 stronger, but I think C16 will be fine, and it's a lot cheaper, so it should work well. The green ones you can see here are essentially just there for support. They're not load bearing at all. The blue ones on the outside are the ones that are the load bearing, so the load's coming down on here, and then just got these spaced as I wanted them. I have tried to work out the load bearing and the stress, but it's difficult because I'm not an engineer and I don't understand these things properly, but we're doing the best I can. I'm just going with thinking I'm overdoing it and that being enough, so that should be okay. So that's the base. Fairly simple, tried and tested. Every fish tank that I've built manually, so this one here for instance, has exactly the same construction for the base. That's a 5-foot tank and it has one support in the middle, so it's always been fine. Let's have a look at the middle section. So this is the middle section, again with the tanks, how I see them working. So this one here will be the puffer tank. It's the existing tank, so I've just put in the exact dimensions of it. It actually gives me a little bit more space than I've currently got, so I know that I'll be able to access this and do maintenance a little more easily. This is a yet to be purchased 3-foot tank that will go in this one. Again, I think that will give me plenty of space for maintenance, and then in here is going to be a constructed sump rather than a glass sump. I've just used the box as reference, but a similar design to the bottom where I'll have the supports. Again, all these colours are just references for sizing, so as when I come to do the cutting I will be able to do that. I have put in some pipes because what I'm thinking of having here is these pipes here will be stand pipes in the main tank, just going straight through, so they will drain down into the sump, and then I'll have returns as well. But as you can see, I've indented these at the back purely just to give it a bit more support away from the extremities, but there are supports out to the extremities, so we should be good there. Obviously we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 main points that any of the weight here will be spread across, and that's the only thing I think I need to worry about. If I have to make a compromise, it would be to have smaller tanks here to have more supports on here, but From everything I've tried to work out, I think that might work, but if you know better, let me know in the comments. Let's have a look at the top tank. So this is the top tank. Again, it's kind of rough, but it's showing you where I'm going to put various things. We're going to split it in the middle, so this is going to be a middle section here that will have 2 glass panels either side. My thinking here is, and I'm not sure I'm going to do this yet, but my thinking here is if I can get someone that's breaking down a 6-foot tank, if they've got a smashed bottom for instance, I can make use of the front and the back, and that might be quite a cheap way to facilitate that. Or I'll just order the glass. These are the standpipes that I was talking about that are going to be feeding the sump for the filtration, and these are the returns that I was going to put in. Again, just showing you how it works. I haven't actually got the pipe working for them yet, but that was generally how it looks. And again, I'm using the lessons that I learned from Megatank when I'm thinking about the construction of where the weak points were. I know that it was about the weight of the water. The main failures for Megatank was it was too tall for the way that I'd constructed it. So I'm constructing this the same way with more reinforcements. I'm going to make sure I use glue and things like that to give that just every opportunity to give it extra strength. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it the epoxy and fiberglassing that I didn't give Megatank until it was too late. I'm going to give everything a bit more time to cure. I'm going to give everything a bit more screwing, a bit more fixing, a bit more... I'm going to pay a bit more attention to where those weak points are, because I know, having done it all with Megatank, where it went wrong the first time. So if I can put a little bit more effort into those areas, we should be good. Again, this is half the weight of water, half the volume of water. Even though it's a longer tank, it's half the volume of water, so it should be a lot easier to control and be leak free, he says, touching anything wooden possible. Still going to use liquid rubber. I don't think anyone's convinced me that liquid rubber was the problem. It was more my ineptitude in building that was the problem. So that's still on the cards, but yeah, I think this is what it's going to work like. And the reason I've done it with the Megatank on top rather than the middle section is I want to keep discus, so that's what I want to keep in there. And in my experience, they do better in higher tanks. So if I put them a bit lower down, I don't think they'd be as happy. That's not a deal breaker at all for me. If that would have worked, I would have done it. But the other reason is I am anticipating having to do some maintenance, and I'm anticipating some issues with this, and it would be nice to be able to get in it. And as much as I say I've increased the gap for that middle section for tanks, it's not big enough for me to get in. I'm not the most svelte of people in the world, but I'd like to be able to get in the tank and deal with any issues should I have any leaks, which we're not going to have, touch wood. So putting it on top means I've got a lot more room on top to be able to get in and out. So that was the way that I thought that would work best. So that's the plan in general. Executing the plan requires a few things. So I need to do some rehoming of fish. The discus, they've got a bit of an easy one. I'll just move all the discus into this tank just now while we're getting this sorted out. That gets rid of them. The peacock bass and the emperor snakehead, they can go and live in the hospital tank the Oscar's in at the moment, hopefully. If not, I do have plans that I can maybe build another rack over there where that tank is, to house a few more tanks, or I might just have to move tanks round about and have them kind of piled up blocking things, and just have a couple of months of like horrific ergonomics and not being able to move in here while I sort this out. These tanks I have been working on emptying them out anyway, so the only fish in here are the white clouds, which are going to go upstairs. We've got a couple of the bucktooth tetras that I need to find a home for. We've got some CPDs, some coolie loaches. We've got the shellies down there. The majority of these all have tanks in here, so I can move some other fish into these two tanks. So I've got the rainbows down there, and I've got my other nano fish in here. They can take the majority of them. The shellies can go there for now. These other tanks then are just plants and plant storage, so they can all move over to my new plant storage, which is going over there, and I've got another shelf full to put in some stuff there. And I can just have temporary totes dotted around in here. This is a warm room. The room itself is heated, so I can find some temporary homes. What I need to do is just line everything up so I'm ready to go, and this not become a project that takes 8 months to complete. Once I press the go button, it's clear everything out, get everything built, all in a couple of weeks. Things do take time, so I need to let things cure for a couple of weeks. Building takes time. I'll probably have to book a couple of weeks off work or something like that to make sure I've got enough time to do it all. Then there's also the issue of funds, which leads me into a nice segue to talk about this week's sponsor. Me! The worst segue in the world. Yes, I am sponsoring my own video by saying please go and check out the Aquarium Adventures website. There are all kinds of things on there, from fish food to merch to things like this, my clock, or my fish room clock, a couple of sizes of clock. We've got all kinds of little things in there. The idea is that I primarily sell plants and fish food. So as you can see, you've got some of the plants over here. And I offer free shipping if you get to £20. Sometimes people have said to me in the past, oh, I could only get to £18. So I've put on a few merchy things that are all 3D printed designs that I've made myself, that are a couple of quid here and there just to get you over that £20 and get you your free shipping. But yes, if you support me, you want to support me through super chats and channel memberships and all that good stuff, that's all great. But yeah, get something for it. Buy it from the website and you can get something too. That also helps support me. And watch my videos. The more you watch my videos, the more AdSense revenue I get. Again, all helping me to fund this project. I'm not going out and starting a GoFundMe, unlike some kings of DIY, but you know, every little help does count. Or words to that effect. So, anyway, that is the plan. Structural engineers, let me know what you think. When I built Megatank, everyone told me it would collapse under the weight of the water. It's nowhere near collapsed under the weight of the water, so I'm sure there'll be comment section will be full of people telling me it's not going to work. But if you have any specific advice, and based on like proper calculations and stuff, yeah, by all means let me know. Constructive criticism always welcome here. If you think it's a stupid idea to get rid of all these tanks to replace them with like, what, 3 tanks? Again, let me know. But I think that gives me the best chance of keeping keeping Brian, the giant gourami, he can live in this tank on his own and be happy. Having Megatank with the mega fish, and then having Megatank 2 with discus, as well as keeping the puffer and not having to compromise too much. Whatever happens, it's going to be awesome. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? See you in the next one. Bye!